Okay, so far with this index page or home page, we've created the structure of the website using the Bootstrap CSS approach. We've edited some of the text and added some images, and now we're going to come in and use some CSS to format the look of this website a little bit more. First thing I'm going to work with is the navigation bar. Let me review real fast. Remember, we have the Bootstrap CSS that Dreamweaver made automatically. There's about 6,600 lines of code for that CSS code. And you can also already see how that is being used in some of these features and the look of the website and the layout of the website. And that is by default read-only, and in the other video we made that writable. But we can also add, so we can make changes to that CSS from the Bootstrap CSS. I try to avoid it to a certain degree. We can also make a new CSS sheet that overrides the Bootstrap CSS for certain aspects of this website. I'm on my CSS designer panel, and I'm going to open that up so it goes into 2 columns. I think it's easier that way. And if I'm up here at my sources, all sources, I see the Bootstrap CSS. Well, I can add another source. I'm going to create a new CSS file. I'm going to browse for somewhere to save that. I want to make sure it's going to my CSS folder. In my root folder, Pizza CA, there's my CSS folder. And I'm going to save this as, you can call yours whatever you want. I'm calling mine pizza.css and save. There we are. And I'm going to say OK. Now up here in my CSS designer, I see my Bootstrap CSS and the Pizza CSS. Anything I write in the Pizza CSS should override Bootstrap CSS rules. I'm going to make sure my show set is deselected once I get to that point. All right, let me come back here to my nav bar. We're going to start with a nav bar. And I can tell here I'm not quite all the way to the top of that navigation bar tag. So right here it is. I see it's nav bar default. And above that is a class container fluid, so I can tell that this nav bar is the highest level of the nav bar tag. I can click on that. I'm going to make sure I'm on my pizza CSS page. And I'm going to add a new selector. It should say container fluid, navbar.navbar-default. Make sure show set is on once we get to that point. There we go. Make sure show set is deselected, I should say. So now we have a new rule. We can make some changes to this navigation bar. First, I can go to the background. I can change the background color. I can add a background image if I have one ready, texture or something, or I could add a background gradient. I'm just going to do a background color for the sake of time. And I guess I'll grab some of this pizza, this nice red pizza color here. And there we are. So now I have that red background. Well, the text is sort of hard to read, so I can come out here and make some rules for my text. I can click on that navbar brand tag. I'm on navbar brand over here. And I can make a new rule for that if I want. Hit enter. And I can do a couple things. I can change the text color. Maybe nice green. There's green, white, and the red in the Italian flag. And you can see I got that nice green text over here. I could also change the text size if I want, the text font. I'm going to go for the Gill Sans, I think. Looks pretty good. I could also change the text size if I want. I think I'll leave it the way it is. All right, next I'm going to change these buttons over here. And I'm going to click on one of them. I can see there's my list item A. It's in my navigation bar. So I can add a new rule for that. Hit enter. And I can change the text color for that guy. It's going to go for more of the lime green. And I should also be able to add a background color if I wanted to. Okay, so there's the background color. I could also put a border on there. I'm just going to, you don't have to do any of these things. There's just extra things I'm doing. And I'm going to go for a border on the left. I'm going to do a thin. Solid. Computer's being a little slow to catch up. I'm going to do it once again, that lime green tone. There we are. I can do anything else. I can do. I want to do border radius. I can do background colors. I can do box shadows. Anything I want. Anything I did before with CSS. Okay. Let me make sure I'm back on this link here. Oh, what if I want a hover effect on this guy? On those boxes. Let me preview this first. If I want a hover effect, I can add that. So I'm selected on the same area here. I'm going to add a new selector, and I'm just going to type in, so I'm going to call it hover. Type in that hover rule. And I can change my text. I recommend just changing colors. I'm going to change my text color and my background color. And then you can see you have your hover effect. You can do box shadows, you can do borders or anything you want in there. I think I'm going to leave that the way it is like that. Okay, we already added some images and changed the text here. I could also make rules for this text if I want to change this color. I think I'm happy with the way it is, but I could click on that, add a new selector, and change the color if I want. All right, now we have our article section here. If I'm down here in my article section, I could make a new code for that. And we'll do some changes. This text is a little wide. The text is a little wide in certain screens. So I want it to be narrower, not to go all the way across. So I'm on my article tag over here in the DOM panel. I'm going to add a new rule. I'm sorry, not the source. Add a new selector. Container fluid article. Good. Hit enter. And you could do a couple things. One of the main things I want to do is make that text only go across part of the window. So I go to the layout section. I can do a width of percentage, and I'm going to do 75%. Okay, that will look better. Let me preview this, see if there's an issue there. Okay. So now you can see how that text only goes across 75% of the screen. Well, the problem could be if my screen's, if I have a large screen or wide screen, 75% can still be a little too big to read well. So I'm going to come back down here. Looks like I may have to close this and open it up for it to look correct. There we are. Now the text is displaying correctly. Sometimes when you do certain changes in the Dreamweaver, it doesn't display correctly. Well, now it is. Okay, so let me go back to that CSS Designer. I'm in my article section. And say current. There's my article rule, so I'm back in that article rule. And we put it at 75% width. Well, I think I'm going to do a max width of around 80 or 800 pixels. There's no right or wrong there. 800 pixels should minimize it so it doesn't get too wide. All right. So now it's only at 75% and it won't get any bigger than 800 pixels wide, but I see it's aligned left. I want to center it. Maybe change some of the text colors. So I'm back here to that container fluid article rule. And I'm going to go to my margins and I'm going to do auto on the right and left. And that should center that right here in the window. And if I want to put some margins on top and bottom, that's up to me. I'm going to do maybe 40 at the top and 40 at the bottom. Just give it a little more space, a little more white space. There it is. Once again, I'm still on my container fluid article. I could put a background color on there if I wanted to. I don't have to, but I could. Or background image. I'm going to do background color. And I think I'm going to do sort of a nice light green, olive green color. Just enough. Okay, not too bad. Only problem is that text is a little tight in the edge. I may want to change some of the text colors. So if I go back to the layout section, I can put some padding on the right and left of this box, just to push the text down a little bit. Could also put some at the top and bottom if I wanted to. Good. So we have that rule for that box, and I did quite a few different changes in there. I could also change the text color. We go back to the container fluid article. Text, I could change the text if I wanted to. I need Gil Sans. Okay, I could change the text color if I wanted to. Well, what if I just want to affect the H1? I can click here on my H1, add a new selector, hit enter. There's my container fluid article H1, and I could change the font family if I want. I could change the color if I wanted to. This computer's moving a little slow. There we are. And I could do the same with any of these, with the thumbnail. There's multiple thumbnails, so if I click that one thumbnail tag, and I make a new selector for that. And I could change anything to text, font, layout, margins, padding. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to change out the background color. Nice golden pizza color. Now too golden. So there we are. I can also scroll down and do a border. I can change the border radius. And it happens in live time here. My computer's moving a little slower. I can also do a shadow in the background. Good. I can also scroll down. I couldn't make CSS rules for any of these text, but for the sake of time, I'm going to skip to my footer section. My pizza CSS, add a new selector, container fluid footer. Good. Just going to do a background color. Change the text color. And center that text. I think I'm going to put a margin on the top of the footer. Just give me a little bit of space there. So right or wrong, I'm doing 20 pixels. There we are. Now when I preview this in Safari, it's not too bad. Text is easier to read. My image slider going. I got my hover effect and have a little bit of styling on my footer and the other sections. Okay. Once again, it's a I did a very basic layout. You could be more complex. You could add more thumbnails, more articles, sections, different div tags, tables, forms, whatever you want, more images. There we are.